Now, as a Dolphins fan, it's not every day that I'm happy when the Buffalo Bills win a game. That said, as an admitted Patrick Mahomes hater, I must concede that the ending of yesterday's Bills Chiefs game was almost enough to eliminate the migraine I've had for the last week. Now, I don't use the word hater lightly either, as I generally dislike the term. But in Mahomes' case, I'm willing to make an exception. Between his brother's social media antics and his own talking about finishing the season undefeated last year before a single game had even been played, I simply find him to be a pompous prick while also admitting he has the hardware to back it up. He just rubs me the wrong way. That said, up to now, he had not really done anything overt or egregious that I could point to when asked about, hey, why do you dislike the guy so much? But now, thanks to Kadarius Toney, he has. Now, if you follow me at all, you know that I will be the first one to say that the refs need accountability. You also know that I play fair, which means I call it as I see it, regardless of if it helps or hurts my Dolphins. I try to be consistent in my criticisms across the board, but again, I have admitted that my distaste for Mahomes has mostly been just how he makes me feel as opposed to any real actions that he's taken. I can even understand his frustration that he showed on the field, even if I feel he should have been aiming that frustration at Toney and his offensive line that gave him basically zero time for the game's final three plays, which, by the way, as an aside, I've watched maybe 10 videos on this subject today, and nobody's talking about the fact that the Chiefs did have three more plays to get a measly 15 yards and at least attempt a game-tying field goal. Mahomes had basically no time on any of those downs, including fourth down where he was rushed into missing a somewhat open Travis Kelce. In all the videos that I've watched, everyone is pretending like the offsides was the final play of the game. All that said, I could only laugh in shock at Mahomes' comments at the podium in the postgame. The refs ruined greatness. I mean, it was a nice play, but come on, this was no hook and ladder with Duriel Harris finding Tony Nathan to bring the Finns back from 24-0 against the Chargers in 1981. And one other point that I have not heard anywhere else. The flag was thrown as soon as the ball was snapped, which almost always means defensive offsides. What are the chances that Kelce saw the flag, assumed it was a free play because of the penalty, and that was the only reason he was willing to take the chance on the lateral in the first place? I mean, even if that's the case, he would never admit it, but it's an interesting thought. Then Mahomes goes on to lament that Kelce's Hall of Fame induction video will now not have that play in it. And at that point, the pretentiousness was too much and I almost threw up in my mouth. The same ego that saw him talking about being undefeated before the games had started apparently now extends to his teammates. Who talks about a guy's Hall of Fame induction speech while the guy is still playing games? Talk about entitlement. The bottom line is the Chiefs have had more than their share of calls going their way, including last year's Super Bowl. I didn't hear any comments then about how the NFL fans were robbed of greatness or any of the other pompous gobbledygook that Mahomes vomited all over the mic post-game. I mean, Toney was so far off sides, I'm surprised the Bills didn't get flagged for 12 men again. Anyway, seeing the NFL world pretty much united behind the refs and Bills fans is not something I thought I would ever see. But considering we now live in a world where Hall is suing Oates, anything at this point, I suppose, is possible.